Hey there, guitar enthusiasts of every stripe and description. Once again, it's Steve, the original Guitar Nut. Welcome to Guitar Nuts Anonymous. Now, I think a lot of you would have probably just finished watching part 1 of episode 22, where I talk about the new Squiers. And this is part 2, where I'm going to show you some more of the collection. Now, I've made an absolute wreck of my studio because I had to pull all these cases out of this back corner over here. And there's just stuff everywhere. I'm glad you can only see what's in this frame because it's a mess. So anyway, without any further ado, I'm going to show you, I believe we're up to part 4 of the collection. We did 1, 2, 3, yeah. This might even be part 5. I'm not, it's me. You guys know me by now. Whatever it is, it's another episode, another edition of the collection, okay? So, we'll start off with this big gnarly tweed case right here. Oh, and what we have here is a jazz bass parts caster of sorts in sort of a lurid royal blue purple. I actually traded a cheap computer music interface for this when I bought a better one for myself. Half the notes on this thing don't play. They buzz or fret out. It's an aftermarket neck on, I believe, a Squier body. It weighs a friggin' boatload. But I actually used this on one song on my album, which, by the way, my album, Tinfoil Hat. Let me get up close here. Haven't mentioned the album in a while, but I probably should. But any of you out there interested in getting a copy of my album, get a hold of me at rickenbackeranonymous@gmail.com. Give me your address, and if we can float the shipping, we'll get one out to you. It's pretty eclectic, to say the least. But anyway, I got this thing, and my plan is I'm going to use this to learn how to level and polish frets. I got all the files and things and some fret erasers. And hopefully I can get this to where all the frets, or at least the important frets, everything up to 15 I think is pretty sufficient, but get to where all the frets play. But anyway, yeah, so yeah, I'm strangely fond of this thing. I have no idea what kind of aftermarket neck this is, but it feels real good. The finish is all rubbed off the back, and yeah, it's just a cool bass that unfortunately doesn't play very much yet. Speaking of cool basses, and talking about Squiers earlier, here's a lovely Squier P bass in Sonic Blue. This is part of the Vintage Vibe series. I actually bought this for my wife as a wedding present. We saw it hanging in a pawn shop, and she said, "Wow, that is pretty." And she talked about wanting to learn how to play some stuff, and I bought it for her. And she knows how to play Good King Wenceslas and the famous bass line from Fleetwood Mac's The Chain. She knows how to play that. She never got much farther than that because she kind of lost interest, but it's a great bass, and I've used it to do a lot of demos and things on. So that's the other big tweed case that I have in here. All right, so next up is my Fender Villager 12-string. These bolt neck Fender acoustics, they haven't aged well. They tend to spectacularly crack on the top, at least the finish does. It was a thick polyester finish that as the wood shrank just cracked, and this is no exception. There are cracks all over it. But again, they're not in the wood, they're just finish cracks. The neat thing about these is the removable neck. You can take the necks off and shim them and actually get a really decent action on these, very electric-like. And the necks do kind of feel very Strat-like. I always wanted the 6-string version of this, which was called the Malibu. I since have one, and it's the guitar I usually use for learning songs with. It's downstairs in the workshop. But this popped up locally on Facebook Marketplace, and I got a real good price on it. And yeah, it's a good little 12 string, and everybody should have a 12 string acoustic, right? So there's one of those. Now, what's neat is some of these cases, I literally don't remember what's in them. Does that mean he has too many guitars? Maybe. But, you know, that's neither here nor there. What do we have here? Now in the past I'd showed you a few guitars that I called the Mongoose, which were plectrum guitars. Long scale, 4-string guitars that I had made, tuned DGBD. This was modeled after a very obscure Gibson Les Paul that was actually custom ordered back in 1959 for someone that looked almost exactly like this. And I took a picture of it and sent it to one of the Chinese builders that I'm familiar with, and they made this for me. Glued in neck. This was actually in the Songbird, not this, but the actual Gibson version of this was in the Songbirds Guitar Museum in Chattanooga. I think it wound up being owned by Joe Bonamassa. But so this is my version. It's a couple of $100 versus $6,000, I think it was, for the real thing. If I remember when it was for sale at, where was it? Whatever that big vintage store in Staten Island was. I don't remember. First thing that goes when you start getting older is the memory. Believe it. Now, I'm pretty sure I showed you guys this before. This was the first guitar that I ever bought on eBay. It's a very funky looking Galveston Telecaster copy that I keep tuned to open G. This is my Keith Richards guitar. Not much to talk about there because I've mentioned it before, but I wanted to show it to you. Just in the interest of being complete with everything that's over there. Oh, stacking up, ladies and gentlemen. I'm curious to know if there are any ladies out there watching besides my mom. And here we have a lovely Vox Phantom. Well, not exactly. It's an Eastwood Phantom. I think you've seen this before as well when I talked about my 12 strings. Fun story about this is that Eastwood, this was one of their first products they put out back in the late 90s, and immediately they got a cease and desist from Phantom Guitar Works, who owns these designs and bought them, either bought them from Vox or took over the copyright, whatever it is, the trademark, not copyright, trademark. Yeah, so this is the Tom Petty Refugee guitar. Of course, this was a Vox, but always wanted one of these, and got used on some of the Incognito Cartel albums that I played on a few years back. It was pretty much my go-to 12 string for a long time. So there's that. I'm going to step out of frame. All right. Next up is one of my all-time favorite acoustic guitars that didn't get shown in the last episode. Built right here in Nashville. This is a Grammer. I'm showing you the back because, as you can see, it's slightly green. They called this a green burst. And then you get to the side, and it's even more green. Look at that, isn't that something? But none of that can prepare you for this. Looks like a nuclear avocado. I absolutely adore this guitar. As much for how it plays and sounds as for how it looks. And as I said, these were made right here in Nashville, right down the street from where Speedway gas station is now. And they got a pretty cool history if you want to look up Grammer, Grammer guitars. There's also a Facebook group for Grammers. And this is one of the last ones ever made. I believe it was made for an artist, but I don't know who the artist was. This was not a standard finish, but it is original because there's no overspray in the sound hole or anything. This is how it came, and I've got to believe that since it's the only one in existence in this finish, best as I can tell, that seems to be the consensus of the people on the Facebook group, I've got to think it was made for an artist, because this company was famous for putting their guitars in the hands of artists. There was a time in the late 60s when it seemed that every artist in Nashville had a Grammer. I guess they were just giving them to everybody, trying to be the Nashville acoustic. And for whatever reasons, it didn't quite work out, but they're out there. Just today was at Carter's Vintage Guitars, and they had a stack of them in the corner. Well, that makes it sound like they're laying around. I mean, a display of Grammars. They're out there, and they made some pretty cool models. So I'm going to step out of frame again to grab two more case. Well, one more case. Actually, I take it back. The guitar I was looking for is right here. It's already out of the case. Probably the ugliest guitar in the collection. This hideous beast is something that my wife never has let me live down buying. She absolutely hates this guitar. She hates everything about it. As you can see, it has these deer heads all over it. The name of the company that these represent escapes me. But it was like this, left-handed obviously. It's a Squier Telecaster made in China. In a pawn shop locally. In this condition, it's been sprayed this horrid brown color. Rattle can apparently. And these are actually kind of engraved into the top and the back, I should mention, these deer heads. But I always had this perverse urge to own a left-handed Telecaster and play it upside down. So I bought this for a whopping $40 at that pawn shop. Flipped over the nut, restrung it, intonated it for right-handed play. Didn't actually lose the control knobs. They're inside here. I just dropped them inside and put tape over the holes because my arm kept hitting them. So it's just turned up all the way all the time, volume and tone. And then I've got the three-way switch down here, which is basically out of the way. Well, I still hit it sometimes. I've only used this for one gig. And I immediately realized in that gig that the side dots on the neck are on this side. So I couldn't see where I was playing. And it was like a panicking situation on stage at the gig. Somehow I got through by kind of like looking over and seeing the top dots. But I hadn't realized how critical those side dots are. I've since added some myself with a purple Sharpie. But yeah, my wife hates this thing. And, you know, in some perverse way, I still kind of dig it, you know. It is what it is, right? Now, the only other thing I'm going to show you right now, you've all seen before when I got it, my beloved Schecter TSH1. I have to look at the model number because I never remember. That I picked up back when the show first started. Well, first started as Guitar Nuts Anonymous. And I've used it for some gigs, and it's a great guitar. And I got another one of sorts. It's also a TSH1, but it's the hardtail version versus the Bigsby version. It's had its original Schecter pickups replaced with Seymour Duncan mini humbuckers and only one control, volume. Apparently, originally, the guy had torn this down to be a one pickup guitar with one knob, decided he missed hearing the neck pickup and bridge pickup together, and now that's the only combination you can get. So my choices are either leave it as it is, add a switch so I can switch between these pickups, or go back to a single pickup and get a new pickguard. I'm not sure what I'll do. I do know that it weighs a friggin' ton. It literally weighs twice as much as the green one, and I have no idea why. Same model and everything, so I don't know, but boy, it's heavy. But it sounds great, and it plays phenomenal. Apart from the body weight, it's shocking how consistent these Schecters are, because if you blindfolded me and handed me both of them, if it weren't for the weight, I couldn't tell one from the other in terms of the way the neck feels. They are super consistent, and just really, really cool. And I try to remember, you know, I've done so many trades lately. So much has come in and out of this house in just the last week A lot of stuff has moved. A lot of things have sold. That's how I'm putting aside some money so that I can actually buy a couple of things for the show. And plus, you know, it's kind of good to have a little money around, right? But anyway, I traded something for this, and for the life of me, I can't remember what it was. But anyway, so that's the only other new thing I was going to show you. New Schecter. So, at this point, you're probably saying, well, surely he must be finished with the collection at this point. And the first thing I'd say is, don't call me Shirley. And I'd say, actually, no, I'm not quite finished. I still have a few things over there, a few things by the closet, a couple of things in the next room, and I even have a couple of vintage banjos at my brother's house back in Indiana, but that's neither here nor there. Actually, it's not here, it's just there. But anyway, yeah, so more of the collection. You guys seem to really enjoy looking at it. I found a meme that perfectly explains my guitar collection. I'll put it right here. There's a lot of truth in that. I'm far from rich. I'm just irresponsible. But no, my bills are always paid, but I don't wear designer clothes. I don't have a fancy car. I don't have any other expensive habits, you know, drugs or gambling or, you know, women, apart from my wife, who earns her own keep. So hey, it is what it is. Plus, I view this is like stored money. All this stuff could eventually and will eventually be sold, and we could get value out of it. So it's just parked money, as the famous YouTuber Phil McKnight likes to say. It's parked money. And if Phil happens to watch this, hi Phil. It's my favorite YouTube channel. If you haven't already seen it, it's called Know Your Gear. You might want to check it out. Phil McKnight. He's a pretty great guy from best I can tell. I feel like I know him from having watched his show so much. But anyhow, I'm rambling now. I'm going to let you go. I've been talking for 17 minutes and change. So, I've got to say it again. Like and subscribe and ring the bell and share. And, you know, hey, maybe make a donation to the virtual tip jar, either via the Venmo, what do they call those darn things? QR code that I'm going to put up at the end of the video. Or you can go to PayPal and put in rickenbackeranonymous@gmail.com. That's an account. And, you know, make a contribution if you'd like. It'll help. I'm definitely not at a point where I can just go out and buy instruments to feature on the show. I only buy stuff I like, and mostly I buy stuff by selling other stuff. I get stuff by trading for other stuff. And I think I'm approaching having owned 600 instruments since 1990. That's both cool and sobering. So until I see you next. Oh, also I have to do this. Hi Gavin. Hi Steve. Oh, definitely. Hi Jeff. Can't leave Jeff out. So until I see you next, stay cool, stay frosty, rock on, chime on, rock out, be good to yourself and others, and for the love of all that is holy, play the damn guitar. See you again soon. Steve out.